A 1,000-degree branding iron was pressed onto the man's body, but he actually laughed with excitement, because this mark represented that he had finally earned the qualification. From now on, he could follow the mech knight he admired the most, and carry out dangerous missions with him. But when the man boarded the aircraft, what awaited him was not glory, but a dirty pair of underwear thrown at him by the knight.
Clean that.
Although Matt was extremely reluctant, he still followed the knight's orders, polishing the dirty underwear until it shined and putting it back on. But what he didn't expect was that the knight not only didn't thank him, but instead shoved him away. The knight then patted the pilot on the shoulder, saying this mission was simply too boring. He decided to go down and hunt, just to relax a little. Although Matt kept warning him that this mission was extremely important, and he couldn't act on his own. But to the knight, those words were completely meaningless. He threw the luggage out of the aircraft, then grabbed Matt and jumped to the ground using the elevator. After the two safely reached the ground, the knight ordered Matt to carry the equipment. Then he walked toward the forest ahead, ready to search for prey. Matt could only follow behind him obediently. But shortly after entering the woods, he unexpectedly discovered a clue. A white lab coat was lying on the ground, with a can of leftover dog food beside it. This meant that not long ago, a person and a dog had passed through here, and the target of their mission was the scientist who escaped with his dog. It seemed that these items were probably traces left behind by the scientist. But before Matt could celebrate for long, a strange noise suddenly came from the cave ahead. The two immediately went on alert and carefully walked inside, but the inside of the cave was extremely dark, with almost no visibility deep inside. So the knight immediately ordered Matt to go ahead and scout the path.
But my lord, I don't have armor.
My squire. Move.
At that exact moment, the only flashlight ran out of power. With no other choice, Matt had to gather his courage and walk alone into the darkness. The cave was filled with barrels of nuclear waste, but aside from that, there didn't seem to be anything unusual. Matt was about to turn back and report when he suddenly discovered that a mutated bear had appeared behind the knight. The next second, the bear charged forward, easily crushing the knight's weapon with its teeth. Then it violently attacked the knight's armor. Faced with such terrifying power, even the armored knight couldn't withstand it. He could only turn around and run out of the cave. The moment he rushed out of the cave, the knight immediately lay motionless on a rock. Because in the past, playing dead was an effective way to avoid bear attacks. But the bear, mutated by nuclear radiation, had already developed higher intelligence. It wasn't fooled, and seemed to see through the knight's trick, slamming him to the ground. Then it began viciously biting the knight. The knight could only shout for Matt to shoot. Matt didn't dare waste any more time, and immediately raised his gun and fired. One bullet hit its target, finally knocking the bear unconscious. He successfully saved the knight's life. But when facing the person who saved him, the knight didn't show any gratitude. Instead, he angrily questioned why Matt acted so late.
Give me a stim pack! What the fuck are you doing, man? Can you give me a fucking stim pack instead of just standing there?
Although Matt was extremely unhappy, as the knight's squire, he had to obey all of his commands, so he opened his backpack and took out a healing injection. However, the knight at this moment still didn't stop insulting him. He believed everything was Matt's fault. If Matt had discovered the mutated bear earlier, he would never have suffered such serious injuries. He even said that after returning to the base, he would report this incident. Because according to their rules, a squire who made mistakes would be hung in the air. Then vultures would be allowed to slowly tear them apart. Hearing this, Matt finally couldn't tolerate it anymore. The mech knight he admired when he was young turned out to have such an ugly true nature. He turned around and told the knight someone like him was not worthy of being a knight. He was even unworthy of wearing this armor. After saying that, Matt put down the healing injection in his hand. Then he quietly watched his former idol slowly lose his life in front of him. Only after the knight was completely dead did Matt walk forward. He removed the equipment from the knight's body, opened the back panel of the T-60 power armor, and then he climbed inside step by step. Matt never could have imagined that the dream that once seemed impossible would come true in such a way. One day, he finally wore a combat armor of his own. The man accidentally obtained the strongest power armor in the post-apocalyptic world. He couldn't resist running ahead to test the performance of this armor. He casually picked up a brick from the roadside and tossed it lightly. The brick instantly flew an unimaginable distance away. Immediately after that, he kicked a rock on the ground away. Unexpectedly, the destructive power was even more astonishing. A large section of the wall collapsed instantly. At this moment, Matt became completely excited. After putting on this armor, he believed he could finally achieve his childhood dream of becoming a hero. While imagining his future life as a hero, Matt suddenly heard the sound of a fight nearby. He saw a long-haired man choking another man's neck tightly. The man's face was almost turning pale from being choked. Seeing this scene, Matt, filled with a strong sense of justice, rushed over immediately. He grabbed the long-haired man's hair and forcibly stopped the conflict. The pale-faced man who was rescued saw this, quickly picked up his hat, and repeatedly thanked the handsome Matt. After all the praise, Matt felt extremely pleased. But after the pale-faced man left, the long-haired man finally had a chance to explain the truth. It turned out that the guy just now was not a victim at all. He was actually a chicken thief. He was only caught red-handed, which was why he was pinned down and punished. After learning the truth, Matt suddenly felt a little embarrassed. It seemed that becoming a hero was not as simple as he imagined. Because of his previous battle with the bear, some parts of the armor had already been damaged. Matt decided to go to a nearby market and find a stall to repair the armor. But at that moment, the communicator inside the armor suddenly rang. Oh no, the base was calling Knight Titus. To prevent them from discovering Titus was already dead, Matt could only imitate his voice and report what had just happened to the base.
We were attacked.
By an abomination. My squire, he fell in battle.
He died with honor.
He thought he could get away with it, but the base told him instead that they would soon send him a new squire. Hearing this, Matt immediately panicked. He quickly pulled out the communicator and threw it onto the ground. Then with a heavy stomp, he completely crushed the communicator. The most important thing now was to repair the armor and leave this place as soon as possible. Matt arrived at the market and handed the damaged parts to a vendor for repair. The vendor asked for 5 bottle caps, but after searching his entire body, he could only barely find 4. In this post-apocalyptic world, bottle caps were the only currency in circulation. The vendor was very firm. He refused to help if there was even one missing. With no other choice, Matt had to find another way, until he discovered a nearby dental clinic that was buying healthy teeth. Before long, Matt finally collected enough bottle caps for the repair.
Extra, if you do it fast.
He hurried back to where the armor was, but unexpectedly, the place had already been surrounded by several thugs. They were touching and examining the armor, not taking it seriously at all. Seeing this, Matt became furious. He immediately ordered them to leave, but the thugs laughed after hearing this. In their eyes, they had the advantage in numbers, so why would they fear a guy without armor? The next second, several people surrounded him. They started beating Matt with punches and kicks. Facing their repeated attacks, Matt was quickly beaten black and blue. The armor he had finally obtained was about to be taken away by them. Just as the thugs found the armor's activation button, Matt endured the pain and stood up. He picked up a wrench and grabbed an iron toilet seat cover, then walked toward them. Although he now had weapons, Matt's combat ability improved slightly, but against a large group of thugs, he was still quickly put at a disadvantage. Several people pinned him against the armor, attacking him again and again. It seemed they really wanted to beat Matt to death. At the critical moment, Matt suddenly thought of a solution. He reached his hand inside the armor and grabbed the leader's head. Seeing this, the other thugs were completely stunned. They had never seen anything like this. They immediately turned around and ran away in fear. With his strong determination, Matt finally successfully regained the T-60 power armor. But at that moment, because the thugs had wasted too much of his time, Matt looked up and discovered the base's helicopter had already arrived nearby. The new squire had also been sent down. The situation became extremely dangerous. Matt could only hurry before they arrived and quickly get into the armor. Then he disguised himself as Knight Titus, planning to send the new squire away. But when he saw the man kneeling before him, saying he was willing to do anything for the knight, Matt strangely felt a sense of satisfaction. So he copied Titus's previous behavior, pulled off the metal plate from his crotch, and ordered the new squire to clean it for him. The man had no suspicion at all, and obediently began cleaning it. Meanwhile, he also brought Matt a new mission. The base discovered that, inside the head of the doctor they had been tracking, there was a hidden secret weapon. It was said that whoever found this weapon could rule the entire wasteland. Hearing this, Matt seemed to see a glimmer of hope. If he could find the doctor and bring back the secret weapon, he might be able to redeem himself. That way, the Brotherhood would no longer hold him responsible. So, Matt took the new squire and began his journey to find the doctor. That's all for this episode. In the next episode, Matt will encounter all kinds of strange mutated creatures in the wasteland. At the same time, they will also face an unprecedented crisis. See you next time. The man noticed that the radiation levels in the water ahead seemed unusual. But before he could take more than a couple of steps, a gigantic radioactive toad suddenly leaped out of the water. It opened its enormous mouth, ready to swallow the armored knight whole. At the last possible second, a bullet suddenly flew in from the riverbank, successfully stopping its attack. It turned out that the squire had fired just in time, saving Matt's life. But that single shot completely enraged the radioactive toad. It immediately switched targets and charged straight toward the squire on the shore. In the blink of an eye, it had already swallowed half of his body. Matt rushed over in his heavy power armor. As soon as he arrived, he grabbed the squire and desperately tried to pull him free. A fierce tug of war immediately broke out. At the critical moment, Matt pushed his power armor to maximum output. Then he lunged forward with all his strength. He ripped out not only the radioactive toad's tongue, but also everything inside its stomach, all in one powerful pull. The two of them collapsed onto the ground, letting out a huge sigh of relief. What surprised them even more was that the target's head had been hidden inside the radioactive toad's stomach all along. The two were overjoyed. They had finally earned a major achievement for the Brotherhood. That night, the two found an abandoned ruin to spend the night. As they rested, they imagined returning to the base and wondered what kind of rewards they would receive. As the conversation grew more heartfelt, Matt finally made up his mind. He decided to tell the honest squire his true identity, because he wasn't the real Knight Titus. He had assumed someone else's identity and taken his place. The only reason he fought so hard to recover the mission target was to redeem himself through this mission. However, when the squire saw who was inside the power armor, he realized it was Matt, the man he used to bully every day. He was completely stunned.
You know, you and I, we just have to get our story straight before we go back.
They're gonna kill you.
I mean, they don't have to find out.
It's the Brotherhood. They'll find out.
After hearing what the squire said, Matt's expression immediately turned cold. He slowly lowered his helmet visor. Then he said coldly, "It seems I shouldn't have trusted you. If you're unwilling to keep my secret, then you're not leaving here alive." The two immediately engaged in a fierce fight, but Matt never expected that the squire was carrying the power armor's core key. Using his speed, the squire darted around the battlefield. He slipped behind the bulky armor. Then he ripped out its power core. Without its power source, the armor instantly became nothing more than a motionless pile of scrap metal. Matt couldn't believe it. Everything he had carefully planned had been ruined by this one man. The squire then stuffed the target's head into his backpack. He planned to claim all the credit for himself, leaving Matt behind, trapped alone in the desolate wasteland. A night passed. Under the scorching sun, Matt was on the verge of passing out from dehydration. Just when he thought he was going to die, a woman passing by found him. Her name was Lucy. She was from Vault 33. She had come to the surface to search for her kidnapped father. When Matt heard that the kidnapper's name was Moldaver, he told her that he knew exactly who she was talking about. Hearing that there was finally a lead on her father, Lucy immediately removed Matt's power armor. She successfully freed him. She had studied the T-60 power armor back in the vault, so she knew the equipment very well. Even so, it was her first time seeing one in person. Before she could finish speaking, Lucy suddenly collapsed. It was her first time on the surface, and after being exposed to so much radiation, she had developed radiation sickness. Matt immediately injected her with a dose of Radaway. Only then did Lucy recover. At that moment, they realized they had each saved the other's life. After learning that Matt planned to chase the squire who stole the mission target, Lucy said she had a radiation detector with her. It could track the location of the highly radioactive head. And since the squire had badly injured his leg during the fight, they should be able to catch up with him soon. The two quickly formed an alliance. If Lucy helped Matt recover the mission target, Matt would ask the Brotherhood to send more than a dozen T-60 power armors to help rescue her father. The two immediately reached an agreement and set off together. Along the way, Matt told Lucy everything that had happened on the surface over the past 200 years. Ever since the nuclear war 2 centuries ago, the fighting across the wasteland had never truly stopped. Even when Matt was a child, he personally witnessed his hometown being destroyed by a nuclear bomb. By contrast, the people living inside the vaults had remained isolated from the outside world for 2 centuries. They lived in what felt like a paradise. Until she was 6 years old, Lucy had always believed that the sun projected onto the ceiling was the real sun. No wonder she had just left the vault and seemed so innocent and naive. As they continued talking, the two arrived at a bridge. But on the other side of the bridge, 2 other travelers were also about to cross. The atmosphere instantly became tense. The 2 strangers spoke first.
You armed?
No!
Yes, we are.
Are you armed?
They claimed they weren't carrying any weapons. They only wanted to cross the bridge. But Matt knew very well that in the wasteland, no stranger could be trusted. He told Lucy to hand him her pistol. Once they got close enough, he would strike first, but Lucy holstered the pistol instead. She firmly believed that violence wasn't the answer, so she tried to negotiate with them. She proposed a compromise. Both sides would raise their hands, then each would walk along opposite sides of the bridge, slowly make their way across. That way, neither side would threaten the other, and everyone could cross safely. After a brief hesitation, the strangers agreed. And so, in the middle of the brutal wasteland, an incredibly surreal scene unfolded. Both sides raised their hands high. They slowly walked toward each other. Everyone kept their hands above their heads to show the other side that they weren't carrying any weapons. But the moment they passed each other, Matt noticed a strange grin creeping across the strangers' faces. The very next second, they both pulled out concealed pistols and opened fire. At the critical moment, Matt snatched Lucy's pistol. With 2 quick shots, he dropped both attackers on the spot, but he himself was hit in the shoulder. Fortunately, it was only a graze. It wasn't a serious injury. After treating the wound, the two continued their journey deeper into the wasteland.